Do you guys remember this one? Or these characters? Mr. Putter and Tabby? It's another book about them. Mr. Putter and Tabby Catch the Cold by Cynthia Rylant. Catch the cold. I know all of us have caught a cold at one time or another. Yep. It happens. You get sick, then you get better. Well, let's see what happens with Mr. Putter and Tabby. Grandma, stop talking and start reading. That's not what it says. I was just saying that. Okay, chapter 1, Blowing and Hacking. Oh, Mr. Putter and his fine cat Tabby loved the snow. It made them feel so cozy. Mr. Putter made warm tea and muffins, and he lit a fire, and then he and Tabby watched the snow fall. One day, Mr. Putter went out in the snow without his hat. He wanted to read the funnies in the newspaper, and he forgot it. When he came back in, he said to Tabby, "Tabby, I forgot my hat. I hope I don't catch a cold." Tabby sat on Mr. Putter's head to keep it warm, and while he read the funnies, she tried to help him not catch a cold. She did her best. But Mr. Putter caught one anyway. The next day, he was sneezing and coughing and blowing and hacking. Oh, he felt miserable. Colds aren't so much fun when you're old, he said to Tabby. When Mr. Putter was a boy, he had almost liked colds. He always got spoiled. His mother brought him warm soup and minty tea and adventure books. Mr. Putter loved adventure books, but now he was old. He was old with a cold, and he had no one to spoil him. Chapter 2, Mrs. Teaberry. Mr. Putter's phone rang. He picked it up and said, "Achoo!" "Mr. Putter," someone said. It was Mrs. Teaberry, Mr. Putter's good friend and neighbor. "I caught a cold," said Mr. Putter. "Oh, my goodness," said Mrs. Teaberry. "I'll be right over." "Oh, no," said Mr. Putter. "You shouldn't come over, Mrs. Teaberry. You might catch my cold, and it's not good to be old with a cold." Tabby rubbed up against Mr. Putter to help him feel better. Achoo! Went Mr. Putter in Tabby's face. She decided to stay on his lap. "You need someone to look after you," said Mrs. Teaberry. "I'll be fine," said Mr. Putter. "You really need someone," said Mrs. Teaberry. I'll really be fine," said Mr. Putter. "I'll send Zeke," said Mrs. Teaberry. "What?" said Mr. Putter. Zeke, Chapter 3. 20 minutes later, there was a scratching at the door. It was Mrs. Teaberry's good dog, Zeke. He had a thermos strapped to his back, and he was wagging his tail. "Thank you, Zeke," said Mr. Putter, patting Zeke's head. Zeke wagged and went home. Mr. Putter and Tabby looked inside the thermos. "Chicken soup," said Mr. Putter. "Hooray!" Tabby purred. She loved chicken soup. Mr. Putter and Tabby were having their soup when there was another scratching at the door. It was Zeke again. He had another thermos strapped to his back. "Thank you, Zeke," said Mr. Putter. Zeke wagged and went home. Mr. Putter and Tabby looked inside the thermos. Peppermint tea with honey sticks. Yippee, said Mr. Putter. Tabby purred. She loved honey sticks. Mr. Putter and Tabby ate their soup and drank their tea. Mr. Putter was feeling much, much better, but he wished he had one more thing. He felt so selfish he couldn't help it. He phoned Mrs. Teaberry. Mrs. Teaberry, the soup and the tea are wonderful, he said. Wonderful, said Mrs. Teaberry. But, said Mr. Putter. But? Asked Mrs. Teaberry. Would you perhaps have, said Mr. Putter. Would I perhaps have, said Mrs. Teaberry. An adventure book? Asked Mr. Putter. Of course, said Mrs. Teaberry. You do? Asked Mr. Putter. Yes, I do, said Mrs. Teaberry, but the book really belongs to Zeke. Zeke? Asked Mr. Putter. It's about a brave dog, said Mrs. Teaberry. It's Zeke's favorite. I never heard of a dog having an adventure book, but I guess he could. Said Mr. Putter, do you think he would lend it to me? Only if he gets to come along, said Mrs. Teaberry. Zeke is very attached to his book. The title of his book is Unleashed. That's an adventure book for dogs, I guess. Mr. Putter thought about it. The adventure book came with Zeke attached. Could he manage Zeke and a cold? Would Zeke be good, or would he be Zeke? Mr. Putter was desperate. Of course Zeke may come with his book, said Mr. Putter. Wonderful, said Mrs. Teaberry. A few minutes later, there was a scratching at the door. Chapter 4, The Best Cold. Oh, it was surprising. It was amazing. Zeke was good. He was fine. Zeke was perfect. As long as you were reading his adventure book to him, Mr. Putter and Tabby and Zeke curled up in Mr. Putter's bed and read all day long. Mr. Putter sounded a little funny with his stuffy nose, but Zeke and Tabby didn't mind. They wanted to hear about the brave dog. Mr. Putter read and read while Tabby purred and Zeke wagged his little tail. Wah, 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 wah. And when the brave dog's story was over, they all snuggled up and went to sleep, full of soup and tea and adventure. Well, it was the best cold Mr. Putter had ever caught. The end. Oh, it even says the end right there. Here's Tabby. Love you guys. I'll go look for another book.